High ball in the deep left field. The ball is well hit up against the wall.
All right, welcome back to the O&G Strike Zone. Brian Kelvin Marcus, and joining us is our head coach of our softball program, Coach Brittany Beall. Coach, welcome back on the show. Congratulations on an outstanding run. Wow, what an amazing season it was. And I mean, obviously there were so many. I mean, that highlight that we played coming in was just one of, I don't know, what, four walk-off moments during the course of what seemed like a long week. I lost count of days. I mean, what was the experience just overall, Coach? I mean, did you lose count of days and just almost started building a residence in Gulfport? I mean, what was it like out there?
Well, yeah. You know, with the rain delay, that one game or the one day, I was like, man, it feels like we've been here forever. But the hotel was great. It was very homely. So we felt like we were, you know, they took care of us. We had our separate little own room for breakfast and for film. So it was nice to have those accommodations. So it was long, but it was worth it. It was worth all of it.
So, I mean, the one impression that I have, and I don't know if a lot of people saw it, and I'd love for you to share your thoughts at the end of the game. While you're seeing our opponents celebrate, I look into right field in the background of all that, and I see you out there in right field, and I saw that, and I'm just thinking to myself, I know that feeling. I bet coaches just. I couldn't tell whether you were looking at them or kind of looking towards the outfield, just kind of processing everything. Can you share what you were experiencing, what you were feeling just maybe in that moment while you were out there kind of in right field as everything was over?
As a coach, you know, you have to process your feelings as well. So I just needed a time for myself, and I was visualizing them celebrate. And I think that, you know, as a coach, you start to think about all the things that went on in the game. And, you know, one of those things is shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, just for your coach's, you know, guilt, I guess, your heart. But I wanted to make sure that I took it in as a coach too, to see how it felt, to see how I don't want to feel next year, but just to kind of take in the moment. So before the game and before all the games of the SWAC tournament, you know, I had a deep conversation with my outfielders, because that's primarily who I deal with on defense, and just about how, you know, whatever's written is already written. And we just have to make sure that we put our best foot forward. And at the end of the day, of course, right after the game, you know, I was upset because I wanted it so bad for those seniors and wanted it so bad for the team in general, because they worked their tails off all season long. From not having a coach, you know, to coming in October, me coming in, shaking things up for them. And I think just taking myself out of that, I think that deep down inside, I wanted it bad for them. And I know that we're going to get there again for next year. But it's all about a process. And then when I start thinking about, you know, the seasons, and I start thinking about the wins and coming out loser brackets, I was like, there's nothing that we should hang our head, you know, down for. The girls worked extremely hard, and they did everything that we could have ever asked for them this season.
It's kind of where what I thought there. Good to know that. Go ahead, Kelvin. Go ahead.
Coach, I gotta ask some questions, because I watch every game, and I'm confused. Maybe I had it wrong. Explain to me, one, the rule where they called the run out. I think it was Spooner, when the young lady hit the ball, the pitcher hit the ball and changed the trajectory, and they called her out. Was that correct?
In my opinion, I say it was incorrect. But they tried to tell me that she was going for the ball. And I'm like, well, the ball was deflected and she had no play. I mean,
Correct.
she was not. I mean, and Alana Scott, she's a great shortstop. She's actually one of the ones I picked for the conference award. She's great shortstop. I'm not taking anything from her. But she would have never got that ball. Never got that ball because it was ricocheted off. And there's some things that I think happened within all the games where they could have been like, you know. But at the same time, I felt like I kind of challenged, you know, the umpires a little bit to kind of make those calls. And as an umpire, I get it. You know, you make a call, then you have to stand on that call. But that's why you have 3 other people, and that's also why you have a, you know, the headset where we can do reviews. So that's what they told me, and you know, me being the new fish in the pond. You know, I can push, but you know, there's only so much I can do. You know, being new in the SWAC.
Okay, my next question: did they give you a warning? And what did they give you a warning for?
Well, because I wanted to, I was upset because I was like, you know, I can get aggressive, but I wasn't disrespectful. I wasn't loud. I came to him because when I call time and people umpires make calls, I like to know just so for knowledge reasons too. So I want to understand so that if that brings it up again, you know, I know how to navigate me as a coach standing up for my, you know, team of what I think is wrong or right, you know, as any coach would. So I think it got to the point where it felt like I was being rushed. You know what I mean? Like go. But I'm like, no, like I need to understand so then I can go back to my team and I can tell them the reasons why. But you know, he said he had to give it to me because people were watching. So, I mean, I just kind of walked away and I just said, okay, you know, but I mean, at the end of the day, umpiring is hard. And I did speak with the head umpire and we talked and, you know, we had a long conversation about, you know, just the way that maybe some umpires, you know, every umpire is different and they like certain things a certain way, which I respect that. There's nothing that I would do disrespectful to an umpire. But again, I like to know. I like to know the reasoning why this and that. And some umpires will explain this is the reason why. And I appreciate that. And some umpires, they don't. So.
Okay.
That's
So I got one other question. Then I let Marcus get in. Trying to come out of the losers bracket. That's a lot of games. I think we ended up playing 7 versus JSU that only had to play like 4. As a 1 seed, you know, I made a suggestion. Maybe, you know, I know in the ACC tournament they do it where the top seeds get buys the first day or something like that. Is that something? Are you looking at that now that you've experienced the tournament? And are you looking to give some input on some potential improvements?
Yeah, and the number, I think it really starts back with the regular season, because we saw Alabama State. That was our 7th game with them. No, we played 8 games with them because you're gonna remember home and away 3 times each. We saw them that second day, and then we saw them that that Friday, Saturday, Thursday, whatever game that was. All the games kind of blurred together, but seeing them 7 and 8 times, that's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackson, that would have been a total of 5 times we saw them. Bethune, it was the same way. So to me, I would love to oppose, you know, kind of following the format that baseball has, of where you would play, you know, a series and then you would move on, not a home and away. And I get it. It comes down to financials at the end of the day. But then you look at the tournament and, I mean, this season, the East, we ran the table. I mean, the East was so competitive. I mean, every time we stepped on the field with Bethune, every time we stepped on the field with Alabama State and A&M, I mean, they did a great job too. I know their record didn't show, but A&M did a great job this season. And then Jackson State. So, you know, having us be able to kind of venture out, you know, to the West and have the West venture out to us, I think overall that would help our SWAC conference, you know, to be able to compete for that regional, you know, that regional game.
Agreed. All right, Marcus.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Good evening, Coach. Thank you for joining us. I guess I have a twofold question.
Okay.
One, being a Braves fan, I don't know if you're a Braves fan growing up. But,
Houston Astros.
okay.
But just the playoffs and I mentioned this, I sent a text to the guys about the playoffs in the 90s, even recently, all these like games that come down to the wire or walk-offs or really tight games. I want to ask, I guess, how do you manage through those games in those tight moments, and how do you think the players reacted or performed during those tight games?
I think because we had some of those walk-offs throughout the season. So to me, I knew we were resilient. And that's why, like, if if CC were to get that full, or Sierra, if she were to get that full at bat, the outcome, you know what I mean? You got Naraya at first or second, first and second, whatever. And then you got somebody at third, a base hit can tie the game, So I think we tried to put them in uncomfortable situations in practice. And then, throughout the season, Bethune, I think it happened Bethune. It happened in, what else did it happen in? It happened in a few other games where we showed that fight and that grit. And I mean, 1 through 9, I would take my 1 through 9, any day. And because we've had it throughout the season where the top part of the lineup, was rocking and rolling. Then sometimes we had the middle part of the lineup was rocking and rolling. Then we had the latter part of the lineup that was rocking and rolling. So it was just one of those things where I think we showed the fight when it needed to show the fight. I think we did leave a lot of runners on base in the tournament. And, I didn't want to put too much pressure on them because the stage was already a pressure enough. And I wanted us to keep to do the things that we were doing throughout the season. But people don't understand, like, this is everybody's championship. Everybody's going out there to win at the end of the day. So, it's not just a series. Oh, we'll get it back next game, or, people are going to play. It's the same thing with Grambling. Grambling, I mean, they played the game of their life. Like, that game was good. And I had to give it to them. So I just think that throughout the season, we showed glimpses of that resilience, and we were able to fight. And it just didn't have to happen from one person. Everybody, at the most part, was put in those pressure situations where they had to manufacture runs. Sorry, I went a little longer.
Okay. No. And I guess a second question is kind of related. Could you elaborate a little bit on how you saw the growth from the freshman players who got a lot of playing time and tournament experience, and how they reacted to their first SWAC tournament?
Yeah, I mean, Jamison Townsend, she was one of those ones that came in, and when I first got there, she was playing a little bit of second, infield and outfield, and I just kind of moved her to the outfield. I remember seeing her. We played against her in high school, so I saw her play shortstop a little bit, but I knew we needed a need in the outfield. I knew she had a bat. Who has the same thing, Sierra Maple. She came from Eustis. I mean, she led the team in batting average. She started off a little slow, but when we got to SWAC, she started to pick it up. And it wasn't the long ball. She was just manufacturing, base hits up the middle, ground balls, and using her speed. So I just think, those two freshmen, and then Braxton Battle, she did a great job at the plate as well. So having them kind of intertwine, I think they handled it well. I think they know what to expect for next tournament. And so I'm excited for the growth in them, just to be able to see, the SWAC is different. And you got your rowdy fans, you got your rowdy dugout, you got your umpires, you got the coaches. So I think they handled it very well, but it also comes from the leadership of our seniors and our upperclassmen too. They were able to control them, meaning just calm them down, talk to them, and talk them up. I know Brianna Duggins, she did a great job of that. And we also had Kiana Watson, and they were very vocally with just being there for their teammates. So that helped our freshmen kind of try to, minimize that pressure and just to perform.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Coach, the chat rooms are heavy. Lots of good questions in there. Okay, so one of the questions, and it's kind of a philosophy question regarding pitchers. You stated, and we've seen it, we all believe it, you got 3 number ones. You got 3 quality pitchers in Zoe, Samantha, and Amari. Walk us through your decisions, and I'm not telling you anything was wrong, but it's a tough choice. What went into making the decision of going with Zoriana when you did, going with Amari against Jackson State in the second game of Saturday, and then coming on Sunday going back to Amari?
So we set the pitchers down and we talked to them collectively, and so we wanted to hear how they felt, because I know sometimes as coaches we can, dictate a lot of things, and at the end of the day, these are young adults, and they know their bodies, they know their teammates, they know their opponents. So just having that collaboration amongst the coaches and the pitchers, we all just kind of came. Amari she threw a great game. She threw a one-hitter the first game. Even when we went there, she also threw I think they only got like 2 hits when we played at Jackson. So out of the pitchers, she was the most successful with her pitches. And it's still in the championship game, she still did a great job. That little blooper over second base, I think the number 1 batter on Jackson was the only one that hit the deep ball. Jace Jackson, I think she got a single up the middle, but she did a great job. Zoe and Sam were in the bullpen warming up, and they were going to be, they were ready. But I mean, in that moment and playing them, I felt like, Amari, we felt like Amari was that go-to person. And then the Alabama State game, Zoe did a great job. And again, we sat down with the pitchers and we talked about it, and it was a collective decision from all of us, the coaches, and then obviously the players, or the pitchers rather.
And let me ask this, because I know, which is one of the things that we have, those of us who follow baseball, we have to change our minds. And I love, I know Eria Young's in there. Whenever I got softball questions, I know I can go to Eria real quick because, we have to change a lot of us who are not softball diehards. We're becoming those of us who are, we understand that pitchers can pitch multiple games. And we've heard the story, there was a young lady who pitched, won a title and pitched every game in the SWAC tournament. But as you try to build your roster, do you want to go in? This was the scenario. You wanted to be able to have these kind of options, or would you like to, I don't know if I'm saying this right, would you like to have less options? I don't know if that sounds right. You
never want to have less.
Okay. So being able to have 3 is good or more.
Yeah, and it depends on the pitcher too. Sometimes softball is totally different, like you said, from baseball. Where you could throw every game, like the girl from Bethune, Alyssa Lopez. She threw every game at the SWAC tournament. I mean, she was giving it her all. And I just think it depends on the pitcher. Zoe was kind of she's a east and west, north, up, and then Amari's and Sam a little. They're down ball pitchers. But having, somebody that maybe replicate, Zoe, or maybe having somebody that's a junk ball pitcher. So having a variety of a pitching staff, because again, some teams go through 4 pitchers a game just to change up the eyes of the batter, just to give them something different. So having just 3, we just happen to have the best 3. But again, making sure, and that's something that we've been talking about, and the transfer portal opens on Monday, and just kind of seeing like how can we help them, because they need help, because I want them to be at their best, and being at their best, it doesn't necessarily mean pitching every single game, but again, being at their best so they can confidently own and command the pitches. And so I think Amari, Sam, and Zoe, they did an incredible job. I mean, I cannot speak more about them than any of their competitors. And I praise them all the time on how hard they work. There were sometimes in the middle of the season where we started to walk people, and walks kind of hurt us, throughout, but for the most part, they had the defense to back them up. So I think, to go back to your question, adding 1 to 2 more people to collectively make a solid pitching staff, I think is going to benefit us. Because again, You just never know what could happen. Somebody cannot be on, and that happened this year where Zoe wasn't on, but Sam was able to come in and do the job. Amari wasn't on, but Zoe was able to come do the job. So they both fed off each other very well, and they were selfless, very humble about it. So I mean that made it good.
Was this? I know Zoriana and Amari have eligibility left. Was this it for Sam?
I don't think so. Yeah, we have our exit meetings. We have our exit meetings coming up. Sam falls underneath that. She spent 2 years at JUCO, 2 years at Division I, so she does have another year. But we have to have a discussion about it. But hopefully, yes. But again, that's up to discussion for the coaches and us to decide, and obviously her as well. So. Yeah. Sam is a competitor. She's gritty. She's grime. She's a good softball player. So I'm excited for her to see what she's going to do next year as well.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Shout out to Sierra Maple. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm sorry. I knew you had it figured out. Let me give a quick shout out to Sierra Maple in the chat, watching us on Facebook. Shout out. Cherish Pyle also says, "Hey, Coach, here in Eustis." So you got got some people definitely. I had another question, guys, but go ahead, either Marcus or Kelvin. If I don't steal another one from Marcus, what you got?
Okay, I'm gonna steal one from Marcus. Coach, so I'm gonna combine this question because what was your response and what is your thoughts as well as the team's thoughts on not having anybody named first team SWAC?
I almost got in the car, Coach. I almost got in the car.
My face should say it all. And I just think it's something that, even the East in general, it's hard. It's hard. And I think for one, Zoe and Key did a great job. I mean, they got second team. I think the one that Mari should have definitely got something.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. Like I said, it is what it is. And I just tried to make sure I told him, I said, listen, don't let this define who you are as a person and who we are as a team.
Right. Let's
just go out here. We got to play the game, and an award or accolade doesn't define or validate who you are. So I just try to turn it in a positive way. It is what it is. We know, who got to the championship. We know who won the championship, of course. But definitely we did have a discussion, and I had to kind of bring them back down because they were hot. When we got on that bus, they were hot. And so I just kind of try to reiterate, the importance of why we were here at the SWAC tournament. We were there to compete, and I thought we did a great job of competing.
Did an awesome job, and I'm gonna follow it up, Coach. How's the camaraderie with coaches? There was a certain statement that was made after that championship game, and I'm just leave it open to your reaction.
Let's just say a conversation was had, and it wasn't disrespectful or anything. It was just more of that, like, hey, make sure that we understand that we all represent the SWAC.
Right.
And just as much as I wanted to win the game, Jackson State is going to represent the SWAC, and I want them to do well. I want them to do well because, again, that's a representation of us. So, when people say comments, and I understand when you get in the heat of the game, like, hey, I want to win, you want to win, like, we're not buddies on the field because it's a ball game. But when we do things that can be seen for the world to see,
right, that's
when we kind of take it, we take it over. We shouldn't do that. We just shouldn't do that. And, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of got in my feelings a little bit because I knew what, and not to take it away from, Coach P, because like I said, her and I had a conversation after, the game between us, and I thank for the opportunity, for the position, and she said, go get them, so, but I just think that in those moments, celebrate with your team. I beat them. I did this, and move on. That's it.
Yes.
So
Agreed. All right, and last thing, talk about your camps. I know you got camps coming up. Talk about your camps and how people can support them.
Yeah, so we'll have a prospect camp in June on June 12th. So we're looking for starting for our juniors, our sophomores, and our freshmen prospect camp. We're going to run that from 9 to 5 with the offensive part and obviously a defensive part. And then we have a youth camp for our littles, and then obviously we'll have a skills camp for the youth, meaning ages, middle school 6 through 8. So we in the fall and early spring we had very good turnouts for camps. I mean, we probably had about 70 people for our prospect camps. So I try to make sure that we run a good camp so people can come back, and I think we did a great job for the fall and the spring. So I'm eager to see how many people sign up, and so we can see some future Rattlers. And then obviously just teach the game of softball to our younger kids.
Mm-hmm. And actually, Coach, as a follow-up to that, for the class of, I guess it's 2025, I noticed that we've gotten 5 signees, at least, that I've seen on social media. Have you gotten fruit or any of those signees fruit from your camps? And since they've signed, can you speak on any of the ones that you wish to speak upon?
So Erin Polite, she just actually hit a walk-off home run against the number
1 team
or number 1 team in the nation, Katy, Texas.
Yeah.
So I actually saw Erin at when I coached Team Africa. So I know that was just one of the good things that I was able to kind of see her play multiple games. And when softball is a little different when you go to a tournament and scout, you can go to a field that has, 100 teams, and you're trying to figure out, like, how can I find one person out of all these teams there? So I think the girls that I, signed very early on are people that I've kind of had seen over the course of maybe a few years. Amaya Ramos, I've seen her play for the last 4 years. So, it's to my benefit to kind of see their highs and their lows of how they perform and how they react. And same thing with Natalie. I've seen her play as well. So we already have 2 girls committed as well. So I think we're going to be announcing them hopefully soon. Everything is cleared with them. So we'll be announcing them as well. And then, of course, we're looking to add a few JUCO girls as well. So I think just having them come and add their expertise and their hunger and their fight to win with what we have, those comments that were made after the game, it's going to be a lot different next year. So I'm excited to see the hard work that they're going to put in the fall to get back to where we were.
Okay, well, thank you. And also, as a humble request, that for any of the signees or even the commitments, if they put a post on social media, if you wouldn't mind tagging ONG Strike Zone so we can promote it, even if it's not signed yet, even if they just commit. Okay. If they can just put our tag in, that would be.
Yeah, I think somebody did that. I think Sakaya, she did that. We just haven't, got her post on, but I think she ended up having her signing ceremony, and then you guys will be hearing from Jordan Douglas. She's at a JUCO out of Alabama. She won Player of the Year, and she hit, I think, over 20 home runs this year. So we're excited to have her be a part. She just kind of got cleared today as well. So we're excited for those additions. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Coach, let me hit you with one final question regarding something that became real popular in the SWAC tournament, and that's challenging calls. I know last year Coach B, she challenged some, but I think you doubled up whatever she challenged last year. So it brings me to the question about the philosophy on challenging, and is that something you would like to see more of in the regular season? Because it's something that we don't have. And it, so it's kind of, when you see so much of it, it's kind of like, okay, where does this come from? But if you would give us your thoughts there on your philosophy with challenging and just, is that something you'd like to see in the regular season?
My personality and the way that I like to coach and just right is right, is wrong is wrong. Whether I'm right or they're wrong, right is right, is wrong is wrong. And as an umpire, you're going to miss some calls. But when you get to the point where this is, I say, this is serious, because your season can be ending at that very moment. So we just got to do better. I mean, I don't know how to say that any more than what it is. We just got to do better. So I wanted to make sure that and I know, the commentators saying, oh, Brittany Beall, she's calling timeout again. She's calling timeout again. Well, I wanted to make sure that my players had a plan. Like, we knew what was going to happen. So I think that, maybe if I wouldn't have challenged so much, maybe Shaky wouldn't have challenged at the end, but he had nothing to lose,
Right.
At that moment, he had nothing to lose, whether she was safe or out, he had nothing to lose. So I think just being intentional about what we're doing, and just making sure that we're keeping our eyes and ears, open to seeing what goes on in the play field. So, if we're the umpires' helpers, I guess you could say, but like I went back to that, I want to know the reasoning behind every call. So again, I know how to handle it later on. So if I get 2, I'm going to try to use all 2. So I think it should definitely be done in the regular season because, it needs to be. And I don't know how the SWAC is, going to do that. But at the same time, I don't know why we're not, broadcasting our games on, a SWAC network. Because I had a lot of people just saying, hey, I wish I could have, followed you guys along in the season. And 2, people got excited. People got excited that they
it was great.
See. So I think something like that would not just benefit us at FAMU, but it will benefit everybody across the board, to show that the SWAC, we can play competitive ball just as the Power 5s or Power 4s, but we got to show the world that we can't just, sit back and play a game, but we have to show the world that and make girls excited about to go to HBCU because they can see it. We live in a society where people want to see things. They don't want to see you typing things. They want to see it. So I think it, like I said, it could benefit the SWAC in general.
Agree 1,000% with you, Coach. We're right there with you. And so, I know that's one thing. That's the technology part is the challenging part for the entire conference. Well, because every school is different. Every school has its own individual setup. And so, yeah, I know it's, but hey, hopefully coaches like yourself will pound the table and, you keep talking. And they're listening. They're just trying to figure out how to make it happen. So
yes.
All right. Well, Coach, you've been gracious with your time this evening. Thank you. Thank you for everything. And again,
great reason.
Yeah, just like in your post, you give up a lot, you sacrifice a lot, time away from your family. But what an amazing season! What an amazing run! And we're more excited than every season, every year, our excitement builds with FAMU softball. And so we gotta get some of that fresh gear, Coach. You got some good T-shirts going on. We gotta get some shirts so that we can some rock out some swag, some softball swag on the show. So
hopefully y'all be at every home game next year.
That's the goal. We're working on it. I tell you what, I'd like to do something, and I'm putting this out with Kelvin because he's our Tallahassee resident. I'd like to do something where we get in that outfield, Kelvin. Maybe we do a show from the outfield, kind of get some other folks to come out and join us in the outfield and, just kind of do it up big in the outfield. I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas right now.
Yeah, AD Suggs, she had a good idea, but trying to replicate what they have at Florida, where it's kind of like a VIP kind of section where you get a up close view and put some lawn chairs out there and do those things. So maybe that's something that we can definitely do for a big rivalry game to have you guys out there. So I would love to do that.
Absolutely.
I would love to be there.
Yeah.
We're there, Coach. You ain't going to say nothing. We'll be there. We'll make it happen.
I appreciate you guys.
All right, Coach. Hey, again, make sure you check out. Hold on, I had it up here again. Where's the graphic? Make sure you check out spread the word on the softball camps. BeallSoftballCamps.com. All of the dates you can find there. Prospect Camp June 12th for grades 10 to 12. The Rattler All Skills Camp is on June 16th for grades 7 to 9, and then the Youth Camp is also on June 16th for grades 1 through 6. So if you know a softball player, it's a great time to get them down to Tallahassee, get them up to Tallahassee, whichever direction you're coming from. Expose them not only to FAMU softball, but the campus in general. The campus is always beautiful in June. It's a great opportunity to get down to Tallahassee, check out the campus, and all that. So
SWAC East champions.
2 times going for
get coached by champions.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Coach Beall's Lady Rattlers, just in case someone didn't know that. All right, I'm done. I'm done.
Stop it.
All right, I know. I'm sorry. I can be messy and petty at the same time, Coach.
It is what it is.
Hey, Coach, thank you. We love you. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys all so much for your support. I appreciate everything.
We'll talk soon. Take care.
Have a great evening.
All right.